So I'm here with RA. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for coming by and seeing us.
Thank you. I want to say that I really appreciate the fact that you did outreach on behalf of the brand. And when I saw, first of all, I've known your brand for many years now. And we were discussing before about you literally have leveled up the business because you started in the basement, which everyone who has been at NAMM knows, like that's where the humble beginnings are, is in the basement of NAMM.
Yes.
And then you went up to the main level, and now we're on the second level in this gorgeous space.
Thank you.
And you have this studio that you essentially built in the back, which is so nice and quiet and looks amazing too.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's a great space. And I think, we all want to have nice conversations and good interaction when we come to NAMM, but it's obviously a very loud place to be. So this really made a lot of sense to have a place to actually have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us and coming in.
Of course. And you have a background in production, but I would like to know how you got involved with Breedlove to begin with.
Good question. So I think if you asked me 20 years ago what I would be doing at this age, I would not have for sure not have told you that I would be working in the guitar industry. But I'm very, very happy that I am and very fortunate. I do have a history in production, and I went to school for film and TV and that sort of thing. And so that's really what I've done most of my life. But I started working for Breedlove Guitars when they were in Colorado, and because that's where I'm from. And then when we acquired Breedlove, I started going up to Bend, Oregon, and working up there. And so I kind of just fell into it, and 15 years later, here I am.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Did you find that even with Breedlove specifically, that you because I noticed that you were involved with outdoor style, and that's a lot of your interests and so forth. Did you find that connection with both of the guitar companies as well?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty deep connection to wild places and outdoor lifestyle, recreation, and also the core values of the company. So what's really cool about Breedlove and Breedlove, they're both the only fully sustainable guitar companies. So no clear-cut tone woods. Everything's fully sustainable, and we don't just say that. We actually have to go to every single forest where the woods come from and do the due diligence and check and make sure that they are legit and sustainable.
Wow.
And so they kind of turn into these kind of funny, sometimes they can be like Indiana Jones style adventures into the rainforest, and they've gotten pretty interesting and hairy over the years, some of them, because you're going to pretty wild places.
Wow,
Pretty
so
wild
you
places.
literally venture forth into the forest and to find not only the right quality wood for the guitars, but also making sure that's sustainable as well.
Totally. Yeah, and you really have to go to the source and do that due diligence. It's a complicated system out there, right? There's a lot of woods coming in from rainforests, different places, and sometimes just because something has paperwork or it shows this may still not be valid, and you really have to go to the source. We've been in countries before where we have been picking out wood, and we say, yeah, so this has paperwork and it's legal and it's from this country, right? Yeah, it is. And then you get to the end of the conversation, you say, well, this paperwork, this is from a different country, the neighboring country, and they go, yeah. So you really do have to be careful.
I do greatly appreciate the level of attention and detail that you put into for making sure that you're getting the proper source material.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's a really important thing for us. Look, all these different rainforests and all these different types of wood, we have to take care of them. These are precious resources, and they are finite, and we have to take really good care of them. So
one of the things I also found interesting too, because you mentioned that you went for film and television, which makes sense because you had your production company and, of course, this amazing setup here, and now in your current role with the company. But you also were doing IT work too. Before that, I noticed that you were doing some IT and
I've
web
done a
design,
lot of
things
web,
like that.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's probably, to answer your initial question with a little bit more transparency. That's what got me into the guitar thing more, was kind of that IT stuff. Because when I first came in, I was doing a lot of web work and a lot of that sort of thing for the brands, and so that was kind of the gateway into the guitar world. And then from there, it's just been growing and learning new skills and growing on top of that.
Are you a guitarist yourself?
I am. I should be a lot better for how long I've been playing. I think I've been playing for 20 years.
Wow.
And so, I wish I was a little bit better, but I love it. I love to play.
Well, at the very least, you can communicate with fellow guitarists, and you know at least what you're talking about, right? You can explain to them why the quality of the guitar matters. You can talk about the differences between the different guitars that you're offering.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to have a real honest conversation with a guitar player about the sound, the feel, something like that, you got to be able to play a little bit. I mean, I know you can study and learn and all that, but just to be able to communicate the feel of something, it helps to be able to do it.
It's funny too, because when I first came, you were like, "Oh, would you like to play?" And I'm like, and it's funny because I took guitar lessons for about 6 months, and discovered that it wasn't entirely for me. I actually did enjoy playing it. It was just, but I did it much later in my life. I was originally brought up playing piano and trumpet and so forth.
You were? Okay,
so
cool.
Fortunately, the piano helped a lot in translating to the guitar.
Music, right.
And there's something that I do miss about playing guitar. It is a very intimate instrument, and something that I've always appreciated. And my background is in the music industry. I had a record label for many years,
right.
So I wanted to have at least some knowledge of an instrument that most of the musicians I'm representing playing.
Right,
and
exactly.
It's a very universal instrument.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and it's so dynamic, and there's so many different things you can do with it. And I think just the sheer amount of creativity that you can have with it, and not to mention, I mean, I think there's just so many benefits of. I keep one around my studio, and if I'm having a hard time with an edit or a movie that we're cutting or anything like that, just to be able to sit back for a second and kind of turn your mind down and relax, and I think it's really good for your mental health overall just to play guitar.
It truly is. I mean, especially when you have an instrument that, again, especially good acoustic guitars where you just pick it up and you just start playing, and it's very soothing.
Totally, and and the convenience of just being able to, you don't have to plug it in. And granted, I love playing electric guitars too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun. So, so you played trumpet and you played piano.
Yeah, cool. So I would started taking private piano lessons when I was about 6 years old,
Awesome.
And then I like to joke that when it came time to school, I had to pick an instrument. I couldn't take the piano with me.
I know,
so,
right? That's funny.
My father played the trumpet, my mother played the clarinet, and so they let me choose which one, and I ended up going with the trumpet. So I did that. All through high school, college, I was jazz trained.
Awesome.
So I really loved music, and then it was later in life that I discovered that I wanted to be on the opposite side of it. Instead of performing, I wanted to be the one that was representing. So I went down that path.
But I think to your earlier point, just having that baseline familiarity with music and then being able to bring that in. Probably huge.
I think it's so important because even though I'm not a professional, I don't consider myself at least a professional musician by any means, is at least I have that knowledge and experience behind me, so I can relate to musicians. I can understand the issues that they have. I understand the struggles that they go through and so forth, and also the amount of respect that I have for their skills and for the work that put into their craft.
It's a tremendous amount of work. I mean, if you think about dedicating your entire life, because let's face it, if you really, really want to be at that highest level, it has to be your number one. Mm-hmm. And the amount of time you have to put in on playing, singing, all that, it's a huge investment.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, for Breedlove Guitars specifically, what kind of musician would be interested in a Breedlove guitar?
No, great question. I think the really cool thing about Breedlove is a very innovative, modern company. And so, while a lot of traditional players do fall in love with Breedlove, they do love this sound, it's not a traditional brand. This is an innovative brand. I think about, the woods that we use, like this myrtle wood, to the body shapes that we build. Everything's about innovation, pushing the limits, trying to do things a little better all the time. And we don't settle for, we don't get to a point and settle and say, yeah, that sounds good enough. That's good. We're always trying to go a little bit further, ask questions. Why is that? Why is the guitar responding like that? You just have to be very inquisitive with this brand. And I think that's kind of the core of it, which is an exciting company to work for because you're always doing something new.
That's amazing. And also, too, you mentioned about this guitar. This guitar looks beautiful. I know if you're just listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but this is absolutely gorgeous guitar.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is myrtle wood, and this is from the Oregon coast. It's just an incredible tone wood. So this wood, we've been building with it for about 30 years, but it's still a pretty relatively new tone wood in the space. I love it. It has the most uniform cellular structure of any of the tone woods. And so as a result, it's really balanced in the highs and the mids and the lows. It sounds great. It records amazing. Engineers love to record with it. And it's just it's a beautiful wood. It's sustainable. It's close to our factory, which lowers the footprint of procuring that and building with it. And it's from our home state. So I have a lot of pride for these guitars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So besides this beautiful instrument, are there anything else that you've been announced recently, or anything that you're showcasing at the NAMM Show right now?
Yeah, so 12 strings. I'm just going to grab a 12 string. So I can confidently say that I think we make the best 12 string in the industry. And it's not just a bunch of marketing hype like normally comes out of marketing mouths like mine. If you look inside there, do you see that little bee and that little thing in the back?
Yes, I see that.
So that's a Breedlove bridge truss. What that's going to do, speaking of innovation, that's going to pull a lot of the tension off the top. Because there's a tremendous amount of string tension on a 12 string, 150 pounds sometimes right here.
Wow.
So as a result, when you're building a 12 string, a lot of times they're overbuilt. They're just heavy, they're dead. So that little innovative thing in there is going to let us take all the tension off the top. So this guitar is a lot lighter, it's more responsive. And so with a simple, thought of, well, here's a problem, how do you fix it? That's a really good example of Breedlove doing innovation.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So our 12 strings are phenomenal, and people love them.
That's incredible. And that was a recent innovation, correct?
The Breedlove bridge truss we've been using for a long time.
Okay.
But the way that we build them into the bases, the 12 strings, and the nylon, we're still tweaking and changing things. But I think we're building the best 12 string on the market.
I know it's a little bit biased, and I'm not a guitarist, so I can't necessarily vouch for that either. But I mean, just looking at it alone, it looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, beautiful guitar. Yeah, and then we've got a lot of other new models. The cool thing about the shop and the custom shop in particular, the color work that they do is incredible. We have a really creative team, and they come up with these brilliant colors. They'll go out and kind of look at the nature around us, maybe go to like a beautiful lake or the mountains, take pictures, and then kind of dip into that color palette to create their colors. So it really does feel like they're making vibrant, earthy colors that have inspiration from where we live. And the colors are just incredible. So that's one thing we're known for, is unique color work all the time.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with
sure.
me. This was absolutely fantastic, and again, it kind of makes me want to get back into guitar again. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I think we got to send you one.
Yeah,
we got to send you one.
Thank you so much. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
coming.
it.